All right, I am here with Carmela Martino, who is an author who has a couple of books here, Playing by Heart and Rosa Sola. Now, I understand, was it Playing by Heart that just won the award last night? Tell us about Playing by Heart and the award that it just won.
Playing by Heart last night won the Catholic Writers Guild Catholic Arts and Letters Award, which is the Academy Award actually for Catholic writers. So I'm very honored. It was one of 4 finalists. It's in the category for children and young adults. Playing by Heart is a novel for young adults and adults who like historical fiction. It's set in Milan in the 1700s, and it's inspired by 2 real sisters who lived at that time. Their father sort of manipulated them. They had callings. One wanted to be a nun, and the other was a musician and composer, but the father didn't let them follow their callings because he wanted to use them to impress the aristocracy of Milan and to make himself more notable in the country.
And when did this one come to you? You're conceiving a novel like this, a novel that ends up winning a major award. Where did this story come from? What inspired you?
It's very interesting how it got inspired. As I said, there were 2 real-life sisters who inspired it, and the older one was a linguist and mathematician. And I actually have an undergraduate degree in math and computer science, and yet I had never heard of this woman mathematician from Milan, and being Italian, I was especially upset that I'd never heard of her. And I came across her name in an article about women of history that people never heard of. So that inspired me to want to write a story about her. And then when I found out about her sister, it became a story about how the 2 sisters were both used by their father for his own interests, even though they had God-given gifts that they wanted to use.
Now, this obviously isn't your first book. You have another book here that we mentioned, Rosa Sola. Tell us about that one.
Rosa Sola is very different from the other 2. Even though I have an undergraduate degree in math and computer science, I went back to school eventually and got a master's in writing for children and teens. And Rosa Sola came out of my creative thesis. It was actually inspired by events from my own life. I'm the daughter of Italian immigrants, and I grew up in Chicago. And I changed quite a bit of it, but some of the things in the story are based on things from my life. And it's about trials that the family has after a tragedy and how they come through it, how God helps them come through it.
Now, are these do you have more books out, or do you have more coming?
No, these are the only 2 I have out. I do hope I have written an actual nonfiction biography of the woman mathematician that I'm working on revising for a publisher who has expressed interest.
Okay, now what brought you to writing? Since I'm also a computer science major who has no journalism or radio degrees or for interviewing and such, and you're a computer science major who had no writing degrees when you started out. What drew you to writing?
I actually loved writing. As a young woman and teen, I wrote poetry quite a bit, and my first writing was a poem that was published when I was in high school. It was published in an anthology, but I didn't think I could earn a living as a writer, and so I studied math and science because I enjoy the sciences also, and I worked in programming for about 5 years as a database analyst and programmer. I got burned out and took a job working for a company that did training materials for people learning to use computers, and so that re-inspired me to go back to writing. So when my son was born, I became a stay-home mom and a freelance writer, and I wrote mainly for the diocesan newspaper, the Joliet Diocese in Illinois, and then I did some other freelance work. And then as I read to my son, read books to him, I really wanted to write for young people, and so I eventually went back to school and got the graduate degree in writing.
And if people want to find out more about your book, where do they go?
They can go to my website. It's the easiest place, www.carmelamartino.com, Carmela with 1 L. And there's lots of information about both the books there and the awards and how you can buy them and everything else.
All right, Carmela Martino, the books are Rosa Sola and Playing by Heart. Thank you so much for your time.